So there's just one more part of the bibliography I want to show you, as it was, again, one of those critical pieces that I used when I was, beginning my research and starting to look through this project, that really helped me materialize the rest of it. So I want to scroll down here to a toolkit, and part of my research was around, even broadening my own understanding of 21st century skills and the application of those skills in our classrooms, certainly expanding my own repertoire of technology resources. And we'll get to that kind of at the end in my reflection, because it's not always something that I have known a ton about or utilized frequently in my own classroom with very, very young students with many, many challenges. So this was good for my own education. But the other aspect of the research focused around those partnerships. How do we keep stakeholders invested? How do we provide them ownership and give them a sense of responsibility in the direction that the education of their students is going? So when I was looking at this, and it's a very, very long document, almost 30 pages, but I really focused in on about 6 of these pages. And so I'm going to scroll down here just to this page, because this gets back at what I mentioned earlier, that it's not just about what we teach our students that we need families to be aware of. We need them to know why, and we need them to know how those things are happening. Now, of course, in this document, it recognizes that there are varying family dynamics, that there are struggles faced by many widely diverse populations, that we have in our school buildings. But the emphasis is not placed on that. The emphasis is placed on, while yes, we value those differences, we're going to kind of table those, and we're going to plan for opportunities to get families involved, allow them to express how they want to be involved, and then figure out together how we can create a path that really utilizes their strengths. So while there's a lot of really great information in this toolkit, and I used a lot of it when analyzing where I wanted to go with all of this, I think this is kind of the key point here. That tools, and the rest of this document lays out strategies for communicating with families, strategies for obtaining feedback from families. But kind of the key information that I took out of this is that we want to know how families and community members want to be engaged in student learning, because it's certainly not the same. And I took that and I kind of ran with it. So you will see as we jump to the technology and the literature next, that I wanted to provide resources that were also geared just for our parents. I think it's critical that our students maintain technology integration when they're outside of the classroom. I think it, it's necessary for them to continuously see in the real world, in authentic locations and experiences, the very things that we're teaching them in the classroom. But I think if that's not how a family can support their student at home, if they don't have tablets for their kids, to be doing all of these programs and critical thinking, kind of problem-solving games and things of that nature at home, well, maybe they're a family that can be involved by simply modeling good use of technology on their own. And so there's going to be some apps and some resources that allow families who want to just know more about technology, maybe model that for their students, maybe do a little bit of it with their students at home, to also engage in that way. And I think that is absolutely a strategy of family involvement that will benefit many, many students. So that's what I took away from this research article, and I'll close out of that, and I think that'll kind of close off our look at the bibliography. And I want to jump over next to the section that's called literature. And again, when this becomes a live resource that hopefully I can use in the future, I envision this literature piece being a friendly page for families to visit and just get quick snippets of information, read up on, key initiatives that are happening in the school. These are all, we could change out each of these articles and swap it with something different or more relevant at the time. But I put in here what I feel like are really good kind of starting points for our families that are trying to learn where education is going and what our teaching looks like. And so this very first one up here is a great quick read. You can actually open it up in a PDF version too, but it's written out here. And it looks at, again, not just the what that students are doing, but the why as well. And there's a key thing in here that I would hope as families read that they would see as well. And it's right here. And it, again, brings back those 4 C's. And it's not that technology is just a really fun, awesome way to engage students, although it is, but it's necessary because where students are going in the future, what students will be doing for their careers, we need them to be doing it now. And so that's what this exact piece says here. Students develop the 4 C's. We have discovered that effective application of these vital skills in a technology-infused life and workplace requires acquiring them in a technology-infused learning environment. And certainly that can go into many other challenging aspects for schools and building administrators. And there's actually a research article in the bibliography that talks about, while yes, we recognize that we need students in technology-infused learning environments, there can often be some budgetary concerns with that, but there are also ways to work around it. But I think this is a good quick read for families on why it's important to have technology in our classrooms, where we're going with it, and what it looks like. So that's one of the first pieces of literature that I've offered to families on here. And like I said, down here at the bottom, I wanted to incorporate pieces that allowed families to kind of broaden their own skills and get some use out of all of this technology talk as well. So one of the tabs here is just a list of some really great goal-setting apps, and it's something that certainly parents can use. I think it's critical for our students to see that their parents are organizing their thoughts. They're planning, they're scheduling, they're budgeting, they're doing all of these real-world skills that they're eventually going to have to do as well. So again, this could be a source that parents use and model. It could be something that parents help older elementary and middle school students set their own goals and track their progress, because that's a great, life skill for us to be working with our students on. Or it could be something that parents pull out of their their own little tool bag, and they encourage their much older student to do on their own. So that is there as well. I don't do a ton on the technology page with digital storytelling because I think often that is much more applicable at school than it is at home sometimes, but there's a link there that talks about how digital storytelling can be used to increase literacy and to reinforce some of those curricular objectives from the classroom. This last one here is one that I thought was a good source to have on there because it's a live, active, ongoing resource that families can look at for information, for education, and for some tools to use. Again, P21 was critical in the development and the implementation of these 21st century skills, and so I think this is a great place for parents to visit, and so they can see how this progresses over the next several years or over the course of a year while their student is in school. So that's on there as well as a live link. And the last thing I want to show you on here is the technology page. And surprisingly, perhaps, like I said, technology was not necessarily the sole intent of this inquiry project. Now, I've learned a lot about technology, and of course these 21st century skills can be found in so many web-based programs, and so I wanted to find some that really cross subjects, crossed, it combined the 3 R's and the 4 C's, and it's really well-rounded programs that would really be good practice for students at home. So I wanted to make these available to families, and of course I also tried to pay attention to the cost of some of these. Hopefully, families would be able to access many of these. So as I scroll down, and I don't think I'll click on any of them, but I've put Khan Academy on there, which supports students across the gamut, kindergarten and up. And you'll notice that as we go through here, there's a large math emphasis, there's a large computer science emphasis, and coding as well, because those are all things that we are seeing happening in schools, because that is the direction that our workforce is going as well. And great critical thinking skills come from that. So Khan Academy is on here. Tinker's on here for students to create digital games. ABC Mouse for our much younger students. Again, like I had mentioned previously, I put a link here to the standards so that it's right there for families to access, and they can see what kinds of expectations do we place on students to become proficient in. This down here is a really great program, and again, it could be one of those things that families use together, and I tried to note that in here and just give simple, quick ideas. Families could web out their week. They could web out, the redesign of a room. Maybe a student's going to, get a new bedroom design at home, and families could do this together as a fun, interactive, and collaborative way to organize their thoughts and their ideas. Or again, it could just be a really awesome resource for families and parents to use, and their students can just see it in action at home. So that's kind of the start of it. I have a few more to add on, but this is where it will continually grow and evolve in terms of resources that are great opportunities for students at home, and to give parents, really concrete ideas instead of just saying, well, we need them to practice math, or we need them to practice coding. Well, this gives them a direct link, and again, all of these are live and take you right to the website to get started. And so I hope that would become something that's really great for our families to use. So that's kind of the final look at my project, and I've learned a lot going through this project about technology, about 21st century skills, and I hope as I would move forward with this, that I really could hone in on how this helps very specific populations or age ranges. This is kind of a very loose and broad resource for families, and I'd like to refine it to be specific for special ed students, and figure out how we engage them in all of these initiatives as well. The ELL population, and many more subsets of students that you can interact with technology in different ways and for different reasons. So that's a look at my project, and I hope that you enjoyed watching the videos and you learned a little bit about my intent behind all of this. And I'm going to go ahead here and close this out, and I hope to hear some feedback from you.